I was coming off a solid sophomore year track season where I was the youngest person on the 4x4 team. We fell short of expectations and got 10th at state. I was set out and determined to make my junior year different. I had heard cross country could help with my endurance, so I went out for it. Halfway through the season, I started having knee pain after warming up wrong and just thought it was growing pains or something. We had gone to many doctors because the pain had gotten much worse. I knew that something had to have been torn with the amount of pain I was in, but the doctors refused to give me an MRI for some ridiculous reason. So I took it into my own hands and went to a place that would give me an MRI, and it was so much worse than we thought. Since the doctors refused to give me an MRI, it had gotten worse. I had a 7-centimeter tear in my meniscus. The meniscus is basically the cushion between the knees and your bones to keep them from rubbing together. I didn't know whether to be angry at the doctors for not giving me an MRI or to just cry because I had the potential of missing the whole season. When we were meeting with the doctors to discuss surgery, he gave us two possible situations. The first would involve cutting off the part that was torn, and that would be it. I would be out for maybe a month tops. The second option involved stitching the part together that was torn, and that would take a year to heal. So we were praying for option number one. The stress came in because it would have to be an on-the-spot decision made by the surgeon while in surgery, depending on where the tear was. So we had the whole church praying for me so that whatever the doctor's decision, I would just be safe. But God came through. The surgeon was expecting to take out 50% of my meniscus, and I would have arthritis very young. But instead, he only had to take out 15%. So I had endured through the weeks of physical therapy and the swelling and pain I was in, but eventually the comeback began. We trained hard and made it to the state meet. We weren't seated great in the 4x4 due to our performance at regional, but we were still barely in the fast heat. Tragedy struck when our leadoff man, Tony, pulled his hamstring in the 800. He couldn't run, so he had to find something out fast. Me and this other kid, David, were the only two people with start experience. I really liked my position at third leg because it was what I ran all year. So my coaches and the athletes in the 400 roster gathered together to figure out who was going to run. I had to step away from the chaos and just be by myself. I looked up to God and just asked what was needing to happen. I felt an overwhelming peace come over me, like God was saying, this is what you need to do. So I walked back to the circle of chaos and said, I'll run first leg. We went down to the holding tent and I brought my team together to say the Lord's Prayer. We got energized and the nerves went away. I went out there with the weight of the world on my shoulders, but also a spiritual sense of calmness. I got down the blocks. I heard the gun go off. I took off, but it didn't even feel like I was running. My legs were numb. And just as soon as I took off, I handed the baton off. In first place. I did my job and gave my team a solid enough lead to work with. We ended up getting state runner-up, but I was just so incredibly blessed to be able to run again with my team.